So one of my pastimes is movie watching, movie going. I love to not only watch movies, but I love the movie going experience. If I can buy popcorn or concessions, I do, but it is the going to the movies. So it is a hobby, and it certainly is an act of self-care and self-love. It's a real easy thing to do. I usually go matinee and get almost all my tickets at $8. So it's a good outing for me. So I encourage you, whatever you have that you like to do that is a hobby, it is so important to enact and engage in self-care. Do something nice for yourself periodically, especially when you're feeling down. A good way to disrupt that is to get into a hobby. So I bring my movie reviews here as a way to either help you get your mind off things or and just share one of my hobbies with you, one of my self-cares with you, and it gets my mind off whatever troubles I might be going through at the time to go see these movies, and then it helps me again talking about them. So whatever hobbies you've got, I encourage you to use those and build yourself a self-care, self-love regimen. Whoever doesn't understand it or doesn't want to get with the program, family, whatever, let them go, leave them behind. But we gotta get a self-care and self-love for ourselves. Don't let somebody tell you that it's selfish. You have to take care of yourself, because if you're not good to yourself, you won't be good to anybody else. So, hope you enjoy this review. Boop. All right, so The Exorcist Believer. I saw this a few days ago. Once I got to see the movie, it's pretty good. I say that because the first theater I went to was one I go to on the regular. It has these nice recliner chairs. Reclines you back. You can kick your feet up. But when I got in there, the previews, the sound was weird. You could hear the music fairly loud, but you couldn't hear anything the actors were saying. Even when it got to the Hitchcock of the phone rings and he says, "Do not answer calls during the movie. Emphatically, Alfred Hitchcock." So when he does that, you couldn't hear him talking. You couldn't hear the people screaming. You couldn't hear the phone ringing. But you could hear ba-da-bump after the phone rings. There are other sound effects that sounded as if they were an echo, almost like the music in the previews were on a separate audio channel than the voices or whatever it was that you could hear in the distance. So I'm waiting. The movie starts. I'm thinking, well, maybe it'll fix itself for the movie. Movie starts. I still can't hear anything. The guy gets up to leave. I get up to leave. I'm thinking, everybody's just going to sit here. And like always, I've got to be the one to stick my neck out and go out there and tell these people about the sound. So I go out there. I don't know where the hell he was going, but he tells me, well, if you're going to check, it's fine. I'll wait here. So I go tell them someone comes up in the balcony area in the back to check the sound. Well, there was a certain scene where, one, we still couldn't hear anything. She'd turned up the volume, and in the scenes where you could hear actors talking, it sounded distant. In 80% of the remaining scenes, you couldn't hear a single voice. Their lips are just moving. And I'm thinking, am I deaf? Is this a movie for deaf people? Did I miss a notice that I say that jokingly. But there's no subtitles or anything. So I said, no, it has to be. This has to be sound. The father falls through this area And as he falls, the fall is loud, but him splashing in the water, you can hear it. So I'm thinking, okay, this is really, really strange. To have an audio issue, this is strange. What was going on in the background is they came and they heard the effects of those loud sounds, but they weren't in the theater to realize that half the people were talking, some weren't, and when you could hear voices, it sounded distant. So eventually me and this guy go back out, and him and his wife, they grab their stuff, and I ended up coming back to grab mine, and we're out there saying, hey, we can't hear anything. Couldn't get a refund because of the runtime that the movie had been going on. So I ended up getting 2 free tickets for an admission later. I'm going to use one of those for the Marvels. And then 2 concession things. So we got that. And she asked if someone was still in there. There were a young group. They brought these covers and they were laid back. That were still sitting in there. How on earth you could sit in a movie that you can't have here and you see 3 people walk up with their bags and you're still sitting in there? I don't know how you can do that, but more power to them. They ended up leaving. I saw them leaving. I think I met them at the Somerville theater. So I leave there. Exorcist was only playing in that one theater. I leave, go all the way to Somerville, pay another, I think it was a little bit more. It was $9. It's $8 at Northwoods. So I went all the way to Somerville, bought my ticket. Sound glorious. Previews, same previews, but I could actually hear. This may or may not be a bit weird because I'm going to see a demonic possession movie. But anyway, got to see it. Funny note, as I was walking in, this was my off day. So I was dressed comfortably. I had my, it was a warmer day, so I was able to wear my leggings. This cute scrunch butt baby blue leggings that have a gradient. It's a 3 gradient going up the leg. And this cute pink sweater for light weather. And then I had on some red lip stain, actually, a violet kind of lip stain. So, of course, there were these kids in there. I'm used to this happening from time to time. And, oh, my gosh, he's so gay. And he's wearing lipstick. So I have to deal with that some places where I go. But it's fine. You learn to ignore and just keep going. This is your non-spoiler review. The Exorcist Believer isn't what I expected. I think it's similar to Halloween 2018, where it basically serves as a direct sequel to the original. And the original has a young girl named Reagan and her mother as she comes under demonic possession. And it follows as they try to gather permission and exorcise the demon that infests her body. So this serves 40 years later, I believe. Reagan does make a cameo appearance as an adult, free of possession. She has gone on to live a life. It also brings back her mother. You can see all this in the trailer, where it shows it's really cool, a real life age from the original Exorcist to the mother, Chris McNeil, being requested or inquired about. Again, you can see all this in the trailer. But Chris McNeil is played by Ellen Burstyn. And it's just really cool to see her and Linda Blair, who played Reagan McNeil in the original, come back and fulfill their roles. And they don't have to be aged because it's been literally 40 plus years since the original Exorcist, which is really, really good. Didn't really care too much for Exorcist 2, The Heretic, which was Reagan being possessed a second time. I don't know, it felt a bit played out. The Exorcist 3, I don't think I ever finished because it seemed like Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which was just odd in a sense. But by all means, go back and see the original. If you don't like scary movies, but you have a honey and she can get scared, by all means, I recommend seeing it, buying it, and she can cuddle up on you. You can say, baby, it's all right. I got you. Just hold on to me real tight, baby. Right? So it's going to be your moment with your girl. Tell her hold on tight to you. It'll be your moment. Well, anyway, Another issue that I kind of have musically, I didn't hear the Exorcist theme, which was used beautifully in the trailer. I did not hear it that much until the end credits. Then you really, really hear the first Exorcist theme. From what I can remember, I would have used it a bit more, especially because you have the cameo from Chris McNeil and Reagan, but that's okay. The performances by the father, Victor Fielding, and his daughter, Angela Fielding, were very strong. There is a sense of loss that they share throughout the movie from what happens in the opening scenes. That certainly adds a lot. When you get to the last few acts of the movie, there is a revelation that comes out during The Exorcist regarding the daughter, Angela Fielding, and her father, about a decision that you hear about it at the beginning of the movie, but I was surprised I didn't think about the implications of that. I really thought it had been sort of a natural happening or something else after those events had occurred, but it didn't occur to me that the father had made that kind of decision and the outcome of the decision. I think it is implied that the daughter knew, but the demon certainly knew, and it somehow combined the emotions of the daughter with its possession. The other cool thing about this is that you'll see in the trailer, and you can see if you look up Exorcist Believer, you will see both Angela Fielding and the second girl that is a daughter of the family that's in the neighborhood. I can't quite remember her name. Catherine with a K, played by Olivia O'Neill. There's something like a twin effect, and you'll see this at the end of the second trailer. They are, I think, possessed by the same demon, and it is somehow attached, both of them. And so you've got these two families being brought together by this commonality of possession. You've got an African-American family, more or less. I don't think they're quite African-American. I think it's a little different. And then you've got this Caucasian family. And just seeing that interplay of race and their frustrations as parents, and seeing this theme of not only families and parents, but neighbors coming together, the power of belief coming together. You understand then why it's called Believer. It catches you off guard because it's not so clerical based. It's the theme of belief that we have as individuals and the power that we have. There is a neighbor, the nurse. When she tells her story, you think that she is just this grouchy old nurse neighbor, but when she tells you her story, that thing blew me out of the park. Really blew me out of the park. Very well done. The way that they have put neat stories and backgrounds to these characters as they come together to combine belief, and the fact that it will take all of them if they are to succeed. Now, what happens to Chris McNeil? That was a rough scene. I think some of you will see it coming. I'm a little surprised based on her experience 40 years prior with her own daughter. And there's actually a similar scene where that happens to the original priest that was meant to perform the exorcism, and how it came to the younger apprentice to finish and perform the exorcism. I'm surprised that she would have allowed that to happen. I don't know if she was tricked or if she just really thought it was over. That doesn't make so much sense based on the knowledge that she has acquired over the years since Reagan's possession. So that one was hard to watch. I feel so bad for her. But in the end, though, it's a little bit of a reprise. You know, it's not in the way that we would have wanted. Probably not the way that Chris McNeil would have wanted. But you are happy to see that reprisal. The Exorcism. The way the movie ends, I had my store manager and her family members tell me that the ending was trash, horrible. I don't think I would say the ending was trash. I think the ending was unexpected. I think the ending gets away from being generic. It makes you think. It has a bit of trickery to it. It makes you question the choice and what the choice meant for this group of people. It makes you think when the demon posed its insults and it delves into their personal traumas and their inner strife, and it's throwing all this stuff at them. Does it intentionally trick them? Does it intentionally set up and change wording to make them think the choice will get them a certain outcome when it doesn't? Or what exactly goes on there? It really makes you think. I would have liked to see a little bit more of what the two families did after that whole encounter. You see with the nurse, you get an extra scene with the nurse, which is very nice, and her brief monologue on evil, on good and evil, and its presence in the world. But that choice at the end and the aftermath was certainly shocking, and you might feel a bit incomplete. So apologies for being vague, but this is supposed to be non-spoiler. If you want a spoiler review where I can get really, really in-depth with this, let me know. I'll do that. If you like The Exorcist original, definitely give this a try. If you want to try a scary movie and get your honey to hug up on you, this is a good one to do it. Really great jump scares, good music. The ending, it gets really pumped and hyped. If she gets scared, she's going to be hugging up on you. That's your time to be big man and hug up on her. Old ladies, be a big woman. And if he's scared, he wants to hug up on you. There's your chance. It's a great movie to do it. Cameo appearance, great. Talk about the ending with whoever you go with. And if you've seen it, let me know what you think about it. I had a friend, I call her by her full name. She says she will never watch scary movies. She just can't do it. But hopefully she listens to my review here of The Exorcist Believer. The ending should at the very least solidify for you why it's called The Believer. Oh, and it raises the real life question for me. Of course, there have been real life exorcisms, and if you don't know this, I think it's 98% of cases that are brought to the Catholic Church for exorcisms are referred to psychiatric help. Okay, so let's not get lost in all the exorcisms and it's a Catholic thing. Exorcism is actually the exercise of spirits or negative energy. As the movie states, every culture has them in many different forms and many different techniques. That is also represented during the exorcism. It's not just Catholic based. It has at least one other culture uses of exorcism, and that was really, really cool. That's actually a lot cooler than the exorcist rite of the Catholic Church, to see that additional culture and how they use herbs, setups. It was really, really cool to see that. That was an excellent touch. But I have the question of whether in real life there have been actual deaths on either side during that 1% of those that are deemed to be demonic possessions, and whether or not priests are actually protected. Because you'll see in a lot of these exorcist movies, a priest or an average individual, quote unquote average, like me, demons almost have the power they can unwrap your fingers around a cross. So I would like to ask a real life exorcist priest about how much protection you and I would have, how much protection a sacramental like a cross or a rosary would actually protect us, and a demon's capability to just either unwrap your fingers or throw you across a room, or if they're able to do that to a priest, and what that might mean. Is that a lapse in faith? Something like when the Peter, I believe it was walking across the water and was walking until he looked down and then he began to sink. And Jesus asked him, "Why didn't you trust?" I wonder if that plays a part into it. If there is a deeper level of faith or trust you have to have that a demon just can get into that quick. And if that's the case for priests, that's deeply concerning. Whether there are deaths on either side, that is a very long, extraneous process. It's because when you look at demonic possession, when it has to go through infestation, and it has to go through crushing your will so that you can be fully possessed, that you don't just snap your fingers and it's over. So I'm also curious if demons will laugh if you have a right, or you say in the name of God, and they just laugh in your face. So there are some movies that I've heard where they went to interview exorcists, and the one director said, I interviewed him, and I can't tell you what he said, but he told me, well, this is what I can tell you. And I was about to throw up. I was in such fear. I said, well, if this is what you can tell me, then what can't you tell me? So I wouldn't mind having that kind of conversation, but it's a real thing. You have to be careful about the kind of knowledge you have about that kind of world. But anyway, that's my non-spoiler review for The Exorcist Believer. I think my next one might be The Marvels, maybe Five Nights at Freddy's. I am currently working on playing and finishing up Assassin's Creed Mirage. I'm going to make a storyteller type content around that. If you watched my first episode, I am still playing Legend of Zelda. That game is absolutely epic, but it's really long. So, not sure when I'm going to be able to get that to you, but I will work on it. You'll almost certainly get Assassin's Creed Mirage first before Legend of Zelda. That game is absolutely epic, and it is huge. So be patient on that one. Look forward to it when it comes out, and I will see you all in the next episode, all right?